everybody, and welcome back to Feedback Loop. I am Joey,
And I'm Jeremy.
and this week we're talking about the album Ballads 1 by Joji.
Yeah, does he have is there a Ballads 2? Is there a series of Ballads albums? I actually didn't look into this.
There is not a series of Ballads albums. In fact, I think because what he used to do, he kind of started doing a lo-fi type thing
Hmm.
originally, which I mean you can kind of hear in this album. And
Yeah, for sure.
he, I think he took his most ballady type songs or the most popular sounding type songs that he had previously made and put them on this album. Like I think some of them
Right.
are previous songs, but some of them are new.
Okay.
So like I'm not 100% sure. That's just me guessing, honestly. So,
Yeah.
but
It just seems like maybe he planned to do a second one, or maybe he still plans because this album came out 2 years ago.
yeah.
And maybe he's cooking up Ballads too.
I mean,
Who
he
knows?
might be. He's got like his newer stuff sounds, I'd say, more poppy than this, and I,
Okay.
I, I like it, but just it sounds more poppy than this album did.
Cool. Well, maybe I'll have to look at it. I saw he had a bunch of new singles,
Yeah,
or newish singles at the very least.
he does, and you should listen to him because I like him.
Well, we'll see if I like this. If you don't even know if I like this album, to be honest, but
Yeah, I know, and it's freaking me out, man. But I'll find out. I'll find out.
very shortly you'll find out. Why did you pick this album?
Well, I picked this album because I don't know. We're kind of doing like a dark. You said dark pop was what
Yeah,
that Banks album was, Goddess, and before this was kind of like my sad boy dark album with Mourn by Corbin.
right.
So I
Yeah,
kind of
there's definitely a connection there. I noticed. I mean, there's a production connection, but there's just a general like sound connection
yeah.
between that Corbin album and this one that I noted.
Yeah, it's like I picked this album. It kind of seemed like a midpoint to me between the Corbin and the Banks album, so I like split the
Yeah,
difference a little
I can
bit.
see that. We're just going out of order a little bit on the. We're hopping all over the gradient.
Yeah, no, but it's fine. It's fine. This is a good type of music. We both are into it. I'd
Yeah,
say. But yeah, so that's why I picked it, and it just seemed like a good next step, especially because you said you were going on this whole dark pop tangent. So I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in.
yeah, it's actually changed the order of albums that I was planning. So I have a handful of dark pop albums on our list. I had planned to do, I think, three more. Originally, I planned to only do three, starting with Banks and ending with Tuvalu. But this album made me rearrange some things, and I'm actually going to do three more, so a total of four in this little journey. Because this album kind of made me change the order of things. Next week, we're doing an album that I wasn't planning on doing prior, but it's fine. We're talking about this album now. We'll talk about that at the end. Um, the album art for this is what looks like a very low quality photograph of presumably Joji. I haven't
that
seen this man,
that is him. That is Joji.
and he's. It looks like he's like in a hot tub or something, or maybe on the edge of a pool. He looks shirtless and
Yeah,
wet, and he's like leaning back. He's looking at the camera over his left shoulder a bit.
yeah. It's kind of like a creepy because he's got like a weird little smile type thing,
Yeah, yeah. He's got
and
a big grin on his face.
and the Polaroid red eye type thing that you used to get. Like it was taken with. It seems like an actual camera and not like a digital camera.
Yeah, I
But
think that's a connection that I just made. There's a mention of Red Eye in a few songs, and I think in one of them specifically, maybe it could be interpreted as referring to kind of an old Polaroid Red Eye thing instead of or as well as the typical Red Eye meaning drugs kind of thing. But we'll get to that, I guess,
yeah,
when
we'll
it
see
comes
there.
up.
I mean, but yeah. So I'm gonna throw like I know last time whenever I picked this album and I introed Joji, I said something about Filthy Frank. Did you look up
Hmm.
any of the YouTube videos or
I have
anything?
not.
Okay. Well, just
I was a bad boy.
as a preface for everyone out there, if you know who Filthy Frank is, but you don't know who Joji is, uh, Joji is Filthy Frank. They're the same person. He was like kind of an extreme humor, gross out. I don't want to say gross out because that kind of reduces what he was doing, but I mean it was kind of just gross out type stuff. But Filthy Frank, he was a YouTuber, a big YouTuber, and all that. So
Did he make music as Filthy Frank, or was it mostly like skit videos and
he
stuff
made
like that?
he made like skit videos, and he has a character called Pink Guy where he just wore an all pink kind of like the Green Man suits or whatever that you see.
Yeah, like a
He
morph suit.
yeah, like a morph suit. He would just wear a pink one and have his face like the face cut out so you could see his face.
Yeah,
And he made I think he made 2 albums as Pink Guy, and they were just kind of like meme songs.
gotcha.
So it was kind of like a humor type thing. But he really didn't want to do that. He kind of just did it as a creative outlet, and making music like this is what he wanted to do. So this is
He's separating himself from it by going by Joji, which I'm assuming is his name.
his name is George Miller, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know his name's George. I don't know his last name's Miller, but yeah. And I think he was born in Japan, so maybe Joji has something to do with that. Like maybe that's like a phonetics,
Japanese
yeah, like
pronunciation kind of a
of
thing.
George or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing.
We're spewing
Yeah,
nonsense. That's what we do. We spread misinformation.
yeah.
It's the American way.
I'm over here just talking like some sort of dumb person.
It's fine. There's 12 tracks on this album, which you would think would give it some length, but they're actually pretty short songs. Comes
Hmm.
up to 35 minutes
Oh yeah,
roughly, which it's nice. It's short and sweet and to the point, as we've discussed several times before with a lot of shorter albums.
one of these days I'll pick like an hour and a half album, but
That'll be a bad
yeah,
week for everyone. That podcast will never end.
yeah. But before we lose our attention, attention is the first song on this album. I was gonna try to
Hey, it worked. I didn't realize what you were doing until you did it. So
already starting off with just the terrible segues, but attention is the first song. It kind of opens up like I'd say a lonely piano chords,
yeah,
which I think call back to kind of how we got to start Pat post Filthy Frank with like the lo-fi stuff that he started out doing as Joji,
yeah.
which
It has a lo-fi beat that comes in as
definitely,
well,
yeah.
which a lot of this album has kind of some lo-fi elements, which is pleasant. I think.
Well, good. I'm glad you like it because I like it too. It's very much girl in her room studying that one picture
Yeah,
that you always
yeah.
do.
Chilled cow.
Yeah, chill beats to study to or whatever.
Yeah,
But I don't know. He does something in the song that kind of I think it comes in the second verse. It's like a super blown out bassy
bass.
sound,
Yeah,
and he does that several times throughout this album. Which I mean, I know it's a sound, it's an aesthetic that goes along with this, but I really like the way he uses it. It's just a sound I like. It's
yeah.
it's comforting.
It's cool and it shows progression in the music and it's I don't know it's fun. It's creative. It's interesting. Uh, One thing you have not mentioned thus far, which I'm assuming is deliberate, is he does not have a very great voice. It's not that he can't sing though, is what bothers me. I'm
Hmm.
surprised. I'm bothered by vocals, but he mumbles.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't open his mouth enough when he sings most of the time. There are some exceptions on this album, which is how I know that he can sing. But a
Yep.
lot of this album, this song included, he just kind of mumbles through the lyrics. With he gives it melody, which is fine, but he mumbles it, which immediately makes me think of like a lot of modern mumble rap, which I know is kind of a derogatory thing, but that's where my mind goes when he just kind of like he doesn't sound like he's actually saying words a lot of the time.
A little bit of attention.
Tension, yeah,
I like it because it adds. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is like the whole mumble rap thing, whatever. Some people do it great. Some people actually do it
sure,
great, and it sounds good. But it's called mumble rap for a reason, mumble whatever. And I think he does it to fit with the tone of his music because it is very much sad boy type music.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know, it kind of gives off almost like a depressed, like lethargic,
Yeah, he doesn't even
apathetic type.
care enough to like to
Yeah.
really say his speak his word. It also, I think, lyrically, I don't know if it's in this song. At some point in this album, I really should have thought about this ahead of time. At some point in this album, he mentions that he tried to speak his voice and nobody was listening. He was trying to get his message out and nobody was listening. So maybe it was a character choice, I guess, for him to be so like dejected and mumbly because he thinks nobody gives a shit what he's saying.
Yeah. And yeah, like I'm on board with that line of thought because there's so many times in this album, and I mean in his songs in general, where he's talking about he not he not doesn't quite give off like a nice guy type feel, but it's
Right.
there's points in the album where it seems it's coming from a place of not necessarily friend zone, but he's like talking about all these girls who would never notice him and doesn't care about his
Right.
existence, like all that type of stuff where he's like, I never have a chance, and this and this and this, and it's just a
Yeah.
very dejected way of looking.
It is this song. The first line of the verse, he says, "I thought I'd vocalize my troubles, but nobody will listen."
Yeah.
Uh, so I guess I can give him a pass on that. It's just I don't know. I'm very picky with vocals. You guys know that if you've listened. It's I don't hate it, but it's kind of a little off putting.
Hmm.
And in some ways it kind of works. I know I've mentioned I think I mentioned on the podcast. I know I've mentioned personally. I think off the podcast that listening to foreign music for me is fine because I don't understand what they're saying. I just get the melody of the voice, and I don't have to worry about the lyrics. I don't have to like. I'm not distracted by lyrics, so I guess it's kind of a good thing that I can't understand them from a purely music standpoint. But it's not a great voice. I think it's kind of whiny. Sounds kind of flat sometimes too. So I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about this man's voice.
No, it's cool, man. It's cool, man. Don't even worry
Lyrically,
about it.
though, as you kind of mentioned, this album is kind of about a lot of like sad breakup stuff. This one seems like he's in love with someone that doesn't reciprocate it. It seems he has like a history of moving into relationships maybe too quickly and then being sad when they end, even though she doesn't really care about him, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and maybe he's not the best at showing he cares, or he doesn't know how to care or how to show that he cares, and she isn't feeling it.
Yeah, like definitely from this song I get the vibes that he's a kind of socially inept person in the first place, and
Yeah.
he's trying to get the attention of somebody who just doesn't even like won't pay him any attention. And there's so many points on the album and in this song where I get the feeling that they're not necessarily not paying attention to him because he's ugly or whatever, he's the friend zone, whatever. But
Yeah.
like it's simply because he is not, like you said, able to prop
Articulate his
yeah, like
feelings.
exactly, yeah, like get it out there properly. So
Yeah.
it's not anything necessarily against him other than he isn't good at being social, I guess.
Yeah, the line there's a line in this song. He says, "I know I'm cryptic and I'm weird," and that shit comes off as indifferent. And I think that's what kind of made me think that he's just bad
Yeah.
at getting out what he's trying to say, or bad at expressing how he's feeling, at least.
Yeah. It's a feeling that I've had a few times, so I can relate. I'm there for you, Joji. I get it.
You've been there, slow dancing in the dark by yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I have. Where'd that come from?
Slow dancing in the dark, Joey. If you weren't aware, is the second track on this album. I couldn't think of a good segue. I
No,
just
you're
threw
good.
it out there. But yeah, slow dancing in the dark. It has a very like chill, rising and then falling synth melody that I like.
Hmm.
Immediately, the song when his voice comes in, he has more melody in the song than he did in the last one vocally as
Yeah.
well. It's still kind of hard to make out what he's saying. I think. Strangely, I don't know why the melody that he sings kind of reminds me of Hoobastank's "The Reason." At least in the verse where he goes, "I'm not a perfect person."
Person.
Yeah,
Yep, I
and
can see it.
his melody in the song is kind of similar.
I could see the connection to the reason, I guess, but
Yeah.
this song is clearly superior. I think.
You're not a fan of Who was Stank?
I wouldn't say I'm not a fan, but I'm also not a fan. I'm not a fan.
I also wouldn't say I'm a fan.
Yeah, but I don't know. This is like the big song off of this album, and
Okay.
I think it shows. Like this is, I'd say, other than some of his more recent singles that have come out that are a little more. I hate to say poppy, but they are more poppy. That
Yeah.
which poppy's not a bad thing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's
It's a stigma. We got to
yeah,
break it.
exactly.
That's why I kind of like I was being cautious about talking about mumble rap because I know it's used as a derogatory thing, but maybe it's just a stigma that needs to be gotten over. You know?
Yeah, and I mean it totally it because like I said, there's some good quote unquote mumble rap, whatever, and I think it was started as a derogatory term and then it kind of just turned into a thing. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of like how people say like SoundCloud rap, which I've always
Yeah.
considered to kind of be interchangeable. At least at a certain point in time they were, and then they kind of branched off.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's yeah. So his new poppy stuff. It's pretty popular because it's poppy and that's what pop is. But
Yes.
other than that new stuff, this is probably his most popular song and I really like it. Like you said, it's got kind of a cool background music. It sounds super chill, super wet almost, and
Yeah.
it kind of builds up and comes back down. But like what I like about the chorus is it feels like it should be really loud and it feels like it should be really powerful and it
Hmm.
is, but it also comes off as like subdued because it never gets super loud other than when he's like screaming like in the dark whenever he's just like
Yeah.
belting it, but like the music never climbs up to that height that his
Right.
voice
It
does.
doesn't necessarily. Yeah. It doesn't follow his vocals, which is not a bad thing. I think it
Yeah.
works well. I think it's pretty cool. Lyrically, this one was a bit more or a bit less clear cut, I
Hmm.
guess, from what he's thinking. It seems like he can't really decide whether or not he wants to be with the girl. He thinks he's not good enough for her, but he also wants another night with her, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of where I was at the first few times I listened to it, and then like he was on Genius does the verified YouTube videos, whatever, where they have like the artist come on and explain. I
Right.
guess if anything needs explaining, half the time it doesn't, and they just talk about the song. But
Yeah.
he said that this song was about finding somebody. I'm gonna butcher this. It was about like finding somebody whenever you're depressed or just feeling bad, and you're in the dark, and you want to be with that person, I guess, but you also don't want to drag them into your shit. Like you're gonna drag them down,
Yeah.
and they're gonna end up slow dancing in the dark with you, and kind of riding that line between like, well, I don't really want you to come here and just kind of become another sad boy with me, but
Yeah. I can see that for sure. I think it's close to what it was along the lines that I was thinking, where
yeah,
he's like, I know I'm not good enough for you. I'm self defeating. I'm a sad boy, kind of a thing. I don't want to bring. I don't want to ruin your life because you deserve better, kind of thing. But also, I really like you, so maybe.
so call me maybe.
So call me maybe.
But yeah, it's I don't know. And maybe that girl, she wasn't in it for the long haul. She just wanted a test drive.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, because the next song is called Test Drive.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I kind of did it, but and like this song, like that's a theme throughout this album. I'm gonna go ahead and just bust on into the lyrics, I guess.
Sure.
But like that seems to be a theme in this album is that he wants something permanent, and she just wants a test drive. Was kind of
Yeah,
like the whole thing throughout this song. But
yeah, and like you said, it kind of happens throughout this album. Is that like it's a lot of him saying that he doesn't want to be alone, that he wants to be with this girl or multiple girls. It's kind of I guess I shouldn't assume it's all about one girl, but
yeah,
but it's always him seeking more than they are, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and it's like building people up, which once again going back to the social kind of ineptness, just building people up past a point where they even should realistically be. Like people are just people. It's not like
Yeah,
it's not like every person you meet is going to be like, oh, the person I'm going to spend 3 years with, and that would suck if that were the case, anyways. Like
yeah,
if you were just always in these crazy relationships with people that you shouldn't be in. But like if you're, it seems like his idea of, I guess, love or something was pretty skewed at
right.
this point in his life. If this maybe he's just like building it up for the songs, which he could totally be, but it seems like he's constantly wanting to go above and beyond, I guess, in these relationships whenever everybody else is just like, yo man, chill. Like
Yeah, yeah. I think it's yeah. I guess it's kind of a relatable thing in some ways, but definitely a recurring theme on this album.
yeah,
Musically, this track more piano, more lo-fi beats happening. It does have a bit more traditional of a hip hop beat that comes in
definitely.
with a bass line at this point. This one was produced by R.L. Grime, which I haven't listened to a lot of his music, but I know he usually does like dubstep, I think,
hmm
or hard style stuff like that, maybe. But yeah, it's kind of a cool beat, chill song. Not super notable in my opinion, though.
Yeah, same here. This was because I did really like the first two songs, and this song was kind of broke it with the more traditional hip hop beats. Which, not saying that songs with more traditional hip hop beats aren't good, but like
It
when it,
just it sticks out.
yeah, it definitely sticks out. It's this. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like this song isn't on my playlist with songs from this album. Like
Gotcha.
it's not one of the ones that I regularly listen to. I mean, I will occasionally listen to this whole album, but not this
Yeah,
song usually.
it's yeah. I mean, you can't have a win. I think maybe he just wanted you to think about things. No, that was bad. I couldn't.
No, that
No,
was a,
we're awful at segueing this week.
dude. No, it's because BTS behind the scenes. See how I said BTS that way? Maybe the algorithm will like pick
Yeah,
up
yeah.
on me saying
We'll
that, and
shout buzzwords.
yeah. But
That's what we're
maybe
reduced to.
we've been uh we've been taking like a week off in between the things to try to catch up on
Yeah,
our shows so they're more topical, I guess. It's like whenever we record it, we're not like, okay, well, I'll see. We'll drop this episode in two
yeah. I
months.
mean, we just released the Corbin episode this week, and we recorded it like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it was such a strange connection to what had happened that prior weekend,
Yeah,
and it not that I'm necessarily worried about people thinking that we're like virtue signaling or something, but like it feels bad being so far removed from when the content goes up. That and so that was the primary, I guess. Well, I'm not gonna say that was the primary. That was a contribution to why we've been taking breaks between weeks, but also it's we sometimes just have bad weeks and we don't feel like we could produce a good episode
not that
at
we ever
certain
do,
times.
anyways.
Well, maybe some nobody's listening anyway,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't
Hey.
matter. And again, nothing changes for you all. We're still releasing one episode a week. We're just
Yeah.
trying to get more current.
And sometimes we just talk about this for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, because who needs to keep our podcast short? No one's listening anyway.
Yeah.
Track 4 is called "Wanted You." We're back on track. No segue. Butchered the segue at the beginning. "Wanted You" is the fourth track on this album. I kind of like this one. It has some like maybe arrhythmic drum beats
hmm
at the beginning of it, and then like there's a moody guitar that kind of comes in, and there's a whole lot that gets layered in a very short amount of time.
It,
So it's kind of a lot to process, but I think I enjoy it.
it's so nice. Like I really like it. Kind of that pot, like you said, arrhythmic. It sounds like almost pots and pans or something getting hit on at the very beginning of the
Yeah,
song, and then like that, it cuts out that or the guitar comes in, and then they bring back the pots and pans as like the actual
yeah,
beat to the to the song, and it's just nice.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
the beat really complements the tone that he has on the guitar. I wouldn't say that he has a great guitar tone, but I think it suits. It kind of plays nicely with the drum sounds that he's using.
yeah, and like I think it kind of fits with his voice because like in the song at least like the way they filtered his voice, it sounds like he's singing almost from another room or something. Like
Yeah,
it's very
there's a lot of like I don't know if reverb is the correct term, but it sounds distant. I guess.
it may not be the correct term, but I will also use that term. Very reverby. But
Yeah,
it kind of just fits it because like the off kilter type drums that kind of seem like they're all over the place, but it happens enough that it makes a cohesive beat, and then
right.
he's got his voice in there. But it's just nice. It's I like listening to it. I like singing along to it. You know.
Yeah, the song actually also has a guitar solo, which kind of
Hmm.
caught me off guard a little bit. It seems a little bit excessive at some parts, but most of it's enjoyable. The song to me seems like he's kind of having a breakdown and spilling his guts to his wannabe lover and waiting for her to reciprocate, waiting for her to like fall in love with him. It seemed like in the prior songs he was maybe threatening to move on, but being like fine, like if you don't care, like maybe I'll move on. But at this point it seems that it didn't work, his strategy didn't work, so maybe he's backpedaling a little bit and bargaining, saying like look, you can take your time, I'll wait for you to come around,
Yeah.
because clearly like me threatening to leave didn't do anything. uh
Which I
and
mean, he's I don't know. He's admitted so many times that he's kind of like off-putting and is not
yeah,
great at like. So why did you think threatening to leave was gonna work, man?
yeah, I don't know, it's I mean, I guess it's a very human thing, I
Yeah, definitely.
suppose. So it gives it some character, and I think the music feels a bit more raw and maybe pained, which kind of lends more credibility to that theory that he kind of realized it didn't work, and now he's trying to like backpedal a bit and change your
Definitely.
mind.
That's something that I definitely noted on this is like even his voice, even though it is I guess more filtered, more reverby, like it sounds like there's more emotion in it. Definitely
Yeah,
than the previous song.
yeah. Which I mean, if what you said at the beginning, with this being kind of a collection of songs that maybe already existed and you just kind of throw them together, uh, it makes sense with the kind of changing of tone where this isn't necessarily a concept album.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's normally I wouldn't listen to an album that is kind of a collection of songs,
Mhm.
but I just
I don't
can't
have anything
I,
against it.
I can't get over how good some of these songs are. Which
What can
brings
you get over, Joey?
well, I can't get over you, that's for sure, because the fifth song on this album is "Can't Get Over You," and the sound on this song, just like I feel like it flips completely
It does.
based on the last four songs. Like it is just kind of upbeat. It's kind of like I don't know what the proper word for it, but it's almost
It's
like
groovy.
yeah, groovy. I was gonna say tingy, but groovy groovy's an actual
Yeah,
word.
it's got a nice like simple beat, a groovy bass line that and some keys that come in. Honestly, this track felt like it could have been a Gorillaz track at
Hmm.
some point. It has that kind of like that feeling to me where it's maybe a bit eclectic at points, but there's that groovy bass line that kind of like pulls it all through, and I really like this track.
Well, it does. Not that this probably means anything, but one of like the co-producers on it was Clams Casino, I believe. Yeah,
Yep.
Clams Casino and Thundercat. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. That's where that groove comes from. If anybody doesn't know who Thundercat is, just I
Go
mean,
Google.
really,
Go to YouTube.
go to YouTube and just find him because
Yeah.
he's got some new stuff out. I think it's new stuff. It's new to me. Like,
Right.
but and
He's been around the block.
that song he has a few songs with Flying Lotus. I probably more than a few songs, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Very good bassist.
yeah.
Lends himself to this track,
This is
and
not a review of Thundercat.
yeah. The only complaint I have with this song, I think, is that it's so fucking short. It's a
Hmm.
minute and 48 seconds. I want more of this track.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's so good. because it's short, and
It could be.
it leaves you wanting more, and that's what
It
makes it
comes
sweet.
in, it does what it needs to do, and it leaves. And I'm now the Joji character who's in love with this song, and it left me, or it's leaving, and I can't make it stay.
But speaking of mumble rap that you were speaking of a little bit ago, this song, he mumbles like you can
Yes,
really
and
tell
it
that he.
makes me so upset on a song that I like so much that the lyrics are somehow more unintelligible than on the rest of the album.
But it's fine because it's just
It's
it's a
fine.
groovy, vibey little track where he's like,
Yeah. Yes, just like that. I think those are the official lyrics. Uh, but yeah, it seems like uh, it's. I think the reason for the mood change. I didn't know that this wasn't a concept album, so I was kind of trying to justify it. So the rest of or the prior track is kind of him backpedaling a little bit and getting sad that she didn't care that he was threatening to leave, kind of a thing. In this one, it seems like he's trying to like rebound off of that. So he's like, and it leads, I guess, into the next track as well a bit, but we'll get there in a second. So this seems like he's like, you know what, like I can't get over you. I'm accepting that. I'm just in it, kind of a thing. So he's trying to make it a good thing. I
Yeah,
think he's kind of rebounding from the depression that has been presented previously.
rock on, Joji. Go ahead and rebound. That's
Yeah, yeah, right.
yeah, right.
Yeah, right. The next track, track six. I'm assuming you don't have anything else you wanted to
No.
talk about. Yeah, right is track six. I really enjoy this song too. As I mentioned, this actually might be my favorite track on the album.
Ooh.
This or Can't Get Over You. And there's one other further one down the album, but
Mm,
anyways, this kind of continues that rebound that I picked up on. There's more lo-fi piano and some vinyl crackle, very very lo-fi stuff, but and there's the lyrics
oh yeah.
seem to be about him letting loose a bit. Finally, he's dancing with some random chick that he doesn't have a connection to, and
Mm,
clearly doesn't care about him, and he's okay with that. He's just kind of having fun, no strings
yeah.
attached.
He's gonna fuck up his life. That's what he's gonna do.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I don't know why he says yeah, right. But it's fun. I like the melody in the song, the vocal melody a lot. I sing along. The song gets stuck in my head
Hell yeah.
a lot.
This is
I like it.
also one of my favorite songs. So I'm glad to hear that you like it because
Hell yeah.
I don't know this like and I just thought of the music video for this. Like I don't know if you saw it in your research, but it's
I did not. I haven't watched any of his music videos.
he like goes to a club and it's just him and in all of his like music videos he's just very like dejected looking, kind of just like he doesn't glam up for his music videos. He's just
Yeah,
he
he's a
keeps
sad boy.
yeah, and it's just him sitting in a chair, and then like he's in a club, and like three girls just come and just start like bouncing into him and stuff, and he's just sitting there staring at the camera, just like getting knocked around and shit. And it's just
Interesting.
it's very much how you would think he is whenever he like is going to a club to try to dance with somebody. It just does not give two shits. It's just a very funny picture, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm looking. I just opened up the Lyric Genius page, and I don't know if the cover art for the single was part of the music video, but it's him like he looks like he's passed out maybe, and there are two
yep.
chicks just rubbing their butts in his face or something. So
Yep,
it's
that's part of the
interesting.
video. And I hate to say it's funny because like I know this is the whole thing is like he's with somebody who doesn't care if he dies. Like that's one of the like
Right.
you don't care if I die. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But it's like I don't know. I shouldn't say it's funny, but it kind of like the image of it is kind of
Yeah.
funny.
It's he's laying there unconscious, and they're just dancing. They don't give
Yeah,
a shit,
but
which is his point.
yeah. But like you said, like with the music, it's more that lo-fi type sound that I think that he does really well. Like
Yeah.
I really like the songs that kind of go with that. But yeah, I like it. It's good.
It's a good song. I agree.
It's a good song, and I've never
Don't
been.
strain your brain.
Yeah, I've never been to LA, so it's the next song is called "Why Am I Still in LA?" And this song, I I like I said, I think it was the last album where I had a song that I had like a love hate relationship, but hate was too
Hmm.
strong of a word. Like I don't at all hate this track, but there's parts of it that I don't care for as much as other parts, I guess.
Interesting. This song specifically stands out to me on the album. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite songs on the album,
Hmm.
but so there's a big like climax in the song. It's a big like rise and fall. So it starts off. There's like, wait, is this? I think I maybe. No, this is right.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
this is track. Anyways, what I was saying, I had a brain aneurysm or something. Brain aneurysm. Um, the song it has some like slow and quiet bass guitar with maybe some like glockenspiel, kind of doing some like musical melody stuff,
Yeah,
and it builds some like feedback noise, and the bass picks up, the guitar builds, and then it just all dies and cuts back to the very slow and quiet bits. And I think it's cool from a musical perspective, for because it ties in with the lyrics. I think this song is him falling out of love with the party lifestyle that was established in the previous track.
yeah,
So, yeah, right, he's letting loose, he's having fun for the sake of it. And then over the course of this song, he kind of changes and realizes that he doesn't want this to be his life. In the chorus, he's saying he doesn't want to live forever, which kind of implies that he's living fast and willing to die young. And then the song builds, it has this crazy build, which to me kind of seemed like he was maybe in over his head taking drugs and stuff. And that's when it has this crazy build that just goes nuts, and then it drops in the second verse when he talks about falling for a girl's red eyes, which again implies drug use,
yeah.
claiming that she's not his gal anymore, maybe. And then he says something. It's his last line, presumably of cocaine, in my mind.
Hmm.
And he says on his last line, they ask why, like why are you stopping?
Yeah,
Because they can't die. The line is my last line. They ask why, like they can't die, which means like whoever he's partying with is like, wait, why are you stopping? Like we're
yeah.
not gonna fucking die. Like we can keep doing this. So I think this that build is him maybe like breaking through and having this drug induced epiphany kind of a thing, and it was like, wait a minute, I need to chill the fuck out. And then it goes back to that slower, quieter music for the rest of the song.
I like it. I like it.
That was my big brain theory for
That's
this album.
see, mine is almost like yours. Like he's got into the. I mean, you know what? No, it's pretty much the same thing, because like it's an epiphany that I think everybody who's gone into like a less than ideal way of life has had at one point. Like you're up at 3 in the morning just doing shit that you're like is morally questionable, and then all of a sudden you have that moment of clarity where you're like, wait, what the fuck, what am I doing, like what's happening right
Yeah,
now, like. And I don't know, this song, one of the things that I like about the song is I feel like it very much captures that exact feeling of,
yeah,
I don't want to say, I mean, I guess it's kind of shame of yourself or of what you're
yeah.
doing currently.
Embarrassment, maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it does a pretty well job of capturing it. And I like the xylophones. I'm gonna leave it at that. I like xylophones.
Yeah, it's a nice melody. I think they've done with the glockenspiel kind of a thing going on.
Pretty
And nobody
fancy.
wants to die from drugs. If you have an overdose, you're gonna be having no fun. I did it.
That's
No
understatement of
fun.
understatement of the year.
No fun is the eighth track on the album. This is a very summery sounding
Hmm.
poppy track. I think this is the poppiest track on this album. Honestly, I know you said the second track, "Slow Dancing in the Dark," was. I think this track is a lot more like summer pop, I guess,
Yeah.
kind of a deal. He has very clean vocals on this track,
Hmm.
cleaner than anywhere else on the album. You can actually hear what he's saying for the most part. But yeah, it's just kind of a nice summer bop. About to me, what I got out of it is that he was enjoying being alone for a change, but also kind of feeling regret. He's driving around avoiding responsibility and avoiding his friends, and maybe feeling a bit numb because he's burned bridges with those friends.
Yeah. I like how you found a concept out of maybe this you know you're convincing me. Maybe this is a concept album and I just didn't like know it or something. But yeah,
Maybe
it's
I'm just looking too far into everything.
maybe. But I mean, if you're finding gold, you're not looking too far. You're looking at the exact right angle. But
I suppose so.
it's I've always got the vibe that he's alone because he's working on himself or like he's focusing on himself, I guess.
Yeah,
And like I guess the party friends are like, look at this guy. He doesn't have time to party with us. He's over there self improvement. But one thing I do want to note, that little vocal sample thing at the beginning is creepy as hell, man. Like that
yeah.
like type whatever it is. It freaks me out. There's like a I don't know. I watch scary video like spooky videos. I don't want to say scary, spooky videos on YouTube where they're like the top 5 spookiest sounds ever recorded, whatever. And
Yeah,
that legit sounds like something straight out of like some weird Russian number station that you'd hear on a ham radio out in the forest or something.
yeah. I don't know. I like it.
No,
I enjoy
I definitely like the song. It just creeps me out at the beginning.
it. Interesting. Interesting. I think it's again it's a summer pop song. It's
Yeah,
not there's not a whole lot to talk about. I didn't think musically
yeah.
anyway. It's
Crisp,
good. It's
very
fun, but
crisp vocals. There we go.
very crisp, crispy AF.
And the next song that's gonna come through is "Come Through." The ninth song. That's the ninth song, right? Yeah, ninth, nine.
Yeah,
I wanted to
ninth.
make sure I didn't have my numbers right. I think I numbered 2 different songs, number 8, which
Shame
fun
on you.
fun fact, Easter egg. Whenever I was posting one of the social media things like a few weeks ago, I think it was the one for 10 Tricks Point Never. I put the wrong episode number on it. Like I numbered
Oh, did
two
you?
two episodes, like number 6 or something.
Yeah, it's
So
fine.
I'm just not good with numbers. That's how.
Who gives a shit? Nobody. Again, nobody's listening to us.
Yeah, but
Nobody's
I
keeping up with us.
but I know. I listen. And this is
It's fine.
we talk a lot about nobody listens, and nobody actually does listen. But I mean, that's beside the point because
Hey, okay.
it's
Let's we're in the middle of this episode here. I'm just gonna say if you are listening to this right now and you're hearing us have this discussion, leave us a comment on this video on YouTube. I don't care if you're listening to it somewhere else. Go to YouTube, find this video, leave a comment. I'm just curious. I want to see if anyone's actually listening.
yeah, because that's the thing. I listen, like so that's a view or a listen
Right.
or whatever however I'm listening to it. I don't have an Apple device, so I don't listen on Apple Podcasts, which we are on,
Right.
by the way. All you
Yeah.
all you Apple
All you
fanboys
Apple
out there.
users.
But yeah, so like if I'm on Spotify or if I'm on YouTube, which I'm usually on YouTube because YouTube has literally everything. But
Yeah,
I'm
so
just
just leave us a comment. I'm just curious
yeah.
if anyone actually hears this.
But the point I was gonna make is that it's okay because we do this as as a way to further our understanding of each other's musical tastes and
Yeah,
preferences and to discover new music. And
indeed.
it's just
It's
I don't
for
know.
us more than for the world.
Yeah, but if you all like it, then that's cool too.
Indeed.
Why did I
100%.
why did I go off on that tangent? Why does
I
that
don't know if you did or if I did. I think it was me complaining that nobody's listening, so it's okay if we misnumber things. It doesn't matter. Number 9, come through.
come
Take it
through?
away, Joey. I
Okay.
want you to explain the song to me before I go into it.
Okay, you know what? Uh I mean, I think it's honestly about like so he's in this world that you have created, this concept world that you have created for this.
Sure.
He it's like that once again that 3 a.m. clarity feeling, except this time he doesn't have the partying to lean on, and it's that loneliness that where the actual your deep mind brain starts creeping in on itself and you're like,
Hmm.
oh shit, I can't be alone, I can't be alone right now, I can't do this. And he's like trying to call up that girl or whoever he was talking about before, like, hey, come through, come see me, so I'm not alone right
Right.
now. Like I need like the realization, I guess, that he needs that person.
Yeah. So this one took a bit of thought on my end. It's kind of, I don't know. I think I put more thought into the song than I have on any other song that we've discussed.
Ever?
But at least on this
Oh,
podcast,
okay.
I think. Um, in the verse, he uses a lot of like monster imagery and like specifically like vampires and stuff, and he mentions like a leviathan or whatever. So my initial thought was that he was calling his girlfriend a monster as well as calling himself one. She doesn't like him, he doesn't like her, but that just makes them work as a couple, kind of a thing. He says, "You don't really like me, no, and I don't really like people," which kind of made me do that. However, somebody else on Lyric Genius, which is again what I use when I'm doing lyrics. I usually have my own theories on this stuff, but somebody blew this thing wide open for me.
Oh
They had
God.
a much more compelling theory. So there's a whole vampire scheme in the verse that I mentioned. He mentions, killing him with a stake, getting bit on the neck and wrist, and not seeing his reflection or whatever. And this person, it makes perfect sense that he's talking about this girl calling her a vampire who is only using him for his money. So he says that something with 1,000 teeth like a leviathan, referring, this person claims, referring to grills that rappers usually wear. Having very shiny teeth, and biting tightly on his wrist, referring to like a nice watch. Weighing tightly on my neck, referring to chains or necklaces. And then he says, "If I lived too long, you'd kill me with a stake," which could be her or him saying that, like, look, I know she's only with me for my money, and at some point she might just kill me to get my life insurance, kind of a thing. If I get old and she just wants easy money, kind of a deal. So I think that makes perfect sense with the theme of the album and the song. But I thought it was an interesting theory.
I wish you wouldn't have told me that that was off of Genius, because I would have just like given you. I would have made an award and given it to you for that
Yeah,
analyzation
I
of
didn't
that.
I didn't want to claim credit where it wasn't due, which is why I gave my initial interpretation as well. But yeah, it makes perfect sense. He even, like, he mentions like Diamond Abon or Pete Diamond's like a dancing queen. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it all makes sense. So maybe a combination of that and what you were saying, because again, the song's called "Come Through." He's asking her to like come over. So maybe he's still kind of stuck in this abusive, toxic relationship where he's like, look, I know she doesn't give a fuck about me. I know she's
Yeah.
using me for my money or her jewelry or watches or whatever. But like, I need somebody right now, kind of a deal.
Or maybe she's the one telling him to come through.
It could
It's
be.
from her perspective. I don't know.
I think that makes more sense, which is why it kind of caught me off guard, because he says, "If I lived too long, you'd kill me with a stake," implying that he was a vampire, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Which is why my initial interpretation was saying that they were both kind of monsters. But I think it would make sense if it was all from her perspective, kind of a
Yeah.
deal. So
Well, I like this song. So,
I do as well. This is the third of my favorite songs on this album, and I think just the guy blowing this open for me really solidified that.
well, that's good. That's good. I don't know. He's got a few songs on this album that I would say are wet sounding.
Yeah,
This is one of them. Which part of the chorus is like, come through,
um,
water on
yeah,
me,
water
something.
on me. Yeah, I'm
So like
swimming
it
like
makes
Nemo.
sense. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. But I like it. It's just, I don't know. This whole album is a very vibey thing for me.
Yeah, it's a very we'll talk about the album overall at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah,
We're behind schedule, I
yeah.
think.
We are. We still got 3 songs, man. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, we're stalling a whole lot. It's fine. Again, nobody's listening, so it doesn't matter. Track 10, R.I.P. I don't have a segue for it.
Rip,
Uh, rip.
rip your
It's
segue.
rip my segue. There you go. R.I.P. It's this one features Trippy Red, who's apparently a rapper. I hadn't heard of him. Is that offensive? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I apologize. Trippy Red, if you hear this, I'd be honored to have you defend yourself. I don't know. We'll talk. We'll hash it out
He
offline.
doesn't need to defend himself. He's a
He,
rapper.
yeah, he's a rapper. We got beef now. We'll have a rap battle or something. Regardless, R.I.P. featuring Trippy Red. It's another dark kind of hip hoppy song
Yeah.
musically, which makes sense. It has a rapper on it. The thing is, he uses a lot of auto tune
Hmm.
when he's rapping, and at some points I don't like it, but other points it kind of reminds me. It kind of sounds like it could have been on like Kid Cudi's latest album,
Yeah.
Passion, Pain, and Demon Slaying, which I'm in love with that album. Um, so I don't know. I have a love hate relationship with the song.
Dude, I'm kind of the same way because like I've never heard a song. The most I've known about Trippy Red is I watch Lil Dicky has a show on Hulu called Dave where
Mhm.
it's kind of like slightly autobiographical, and Trippy Red was on there, and that's
Oh,
like the first time I had ever seen him and heard him. So like he does a fine job on this song. What gets me is I can see direct parallels between this like type of music and like the emo scene from like 2007. Like whenever he's singing "I Would Die for You,"
yeah,
is his voice. I could put it in like a My Chemical Romance song, or
huh?
I feel like I could.
Interesting.
I can see it, and it like
I
it
don't
just.
know if I can. I don't know if I can agree with you there.
Well, you know what? Maybe MCR was like the wrong band to
Yeah,
choose, but I c-
listen. I'm not a huge fan of MCR, but they got some good chops.
yeah,
Honestly,
they got some bops, that's for sure. Who
I
was
think
that?
I think the whole Black Parade album is pretty good. Maybe I'll put that on our list, and
Do it.
we'll change your mind about emo music.
I've heard two songs off of that. I've heard. Wait, was Teenagers on it? Okay, never mind. Never, sorry.
we're already we're coming up on the 55-ish minute mark
Okay,
here.
next song, right?
Yeah, sure.
X in
But
what?
before we do that, just because we skipped over all lyrical content. I mean, I
Okay,
guess not. You kind of mentioned it. It's him talking about he's so in love with someone that he would die for them,
yeah.
which you mentioned. I just glossed over. There's not a whole lot more to the song than
Are
that.
you even listening to me, Jeremy?
I'm not. I'm watching this clock tick. It just hit the 1 hour mark, and we
It
started
did.
5 minutes after ish, maybe 6 minutes after. So we got to wrap this shit up quick. No, we
But
don't. We don't have a
next
fucking
song.
time limit. We have no boss, Joey. We can take as long as we goddamn want.
Who are you, my dad? Okay.
Anyways,
X
track
in XX.
11,
Next song. X in XX.
X in
This song.
XX.
Okay. So I like this song. I thought I had it all pegged at the first time because the song name is the name of a website where a sad boy might go to spend some of his time.
Yeah,
But
it's the name of a porn site.
yeah, and then I read up, and it could be also about Xanax. I don't know. I don't know. This song is kind of like one of I'm not gonna say it's a mass song to me, but it doesn't hit me in any sort of way.
Yeah.
Like it's I honestly have only listened to it. I think I had only listened to it two times before I
Oh, really?
recommended this album, just because it
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know, it
Yeah,
didn't
I mean, so I think I understand where you're coming from in that like the whole he says the word round a whole lot.
a whole lot.
It's kind of like Rihanna singing work,
Hmm.
right? Where it kind of just like it, which is I don't mind that song. I enjoy that song. I like Rihanna. So maybe that's not the best thing, but I can at least understand from the perspective, especially someone like you who hasn't listened to a lot of pop music, would kind of not really be attracted to this. However, I really like the vocal melody on this, and I really like the rhythm that he sings with on this
Yeah.
track. So the song gets a pass for me. I kind of enjoy it.
Well, you know what? I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree, and maybe I'll come around to it at some point.
Yeah. So speaking of which, the song he says the word round a whole lot because he's saying all the rhymes that make your world go round, 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 whatever. He doesn't want to run around, round, 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 round. It made me think that he's acknowledging the fact that he's in kind of a cyclical relationship with this girl, and he doesn't want to keep breaking up with her and getting back together and breaking up with her and getting back together. So this is kind of again going with my concept thing is him like it's character progression saying that I don't want to keep doing this. Like we need to stop the shit. I know on the last song I said I would die for you, and maybe that's why I'm realizing that like maybe I'm in too deep here.
Yeah.
Maybe we just need to stop this because this can't be healthy for either of us. And it also bleeds into the next track, which is "I'll See You in 40." This track is very interesting from
Hmm.
a production wise. I like it a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
But before I discuss the music, just riding off the high of the last one, where he's saying he doesn't want to keep breaking up and getting back together with this girl, it seems like this song is the true end of his relationship. He's accepting it and moving on, despite still admitting that he's in love with her. He's like, you know what, like I love you, but I'm not coming back. I'm gotta go find myself. I'm gonna go deal with my own shit and figure out what's going on here.
Very astute. I could not have said it better myself because I I don't know. The only other thing that I could hit upon is it very much gives a sense of nostalgia. I don't know, to me anyways.
Yeah.
Like it paints a picture of, I don't know, a feeling we were talking about actually the other night about the pizza place that we used to work at together,
Hmm.
of wishing you could go back to a certain point in time and being like, that'd be great because everything was, it's,
Everything was just okay.
yeah, everything, yeah, not like it was hunky dory whenever but what, wishing you could go back to a certain point in time, but like the realization that you just can't because
Yeah.
nothing is the same, nothing has stayed, time has moved on, and
Right.
everything is different now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's man. It's a sad boy concept, I think. But so now that we've cleared the lyric portion of this, I really do want to talk about the production of the song and the
Do it.
music. So the song is so interesting to me because it starts off with some like bamboo flute kind of thing or some horn, and then like a ukulele comes in, and then there's some really heavily distorted auto-tuned vocals from him.
Hmm.
And so the song structure, there's an intro, there's what I deem the actual song, and then there's an outro. So the intro is
Hmm.
that kind of like light and floaty, like bamboo flute and ukulele. It's very pleasant, with some very strange, heavily distorted auto-tuned vocals where he's just singing. And then the guitar comes in and changes the tone of the song completely and gives it kind of a lo-fi feel.
Yeah.
And the beat comes in real strong, and then the actual song starts. And then after he gets through his chorus and his verse, the outro comes in, and it's pretty much identical to the intro with the ukuleles and the flutes and the distorted auto-tune vocals. And his vocals, he's done something so interesting with them, with the distortion and the auto-tune, that it sounds like his voice is a saxophone or a bamboo flute that is trying to sing the words out, but obviously
Yeah.
the words don't come out. It's just a noise. It kind of reminds me of like Kanye West. He does a lot of like vocoder stuff where he makes his voice kind of sound like an instrument deal. But yeah, I thought it was super interesting. I think it's a great way to end the album. Lyrically, it ties up the story. He's ready to move on, kind of a thing. But musically, it's very pleasant. I think.
Yeah, I definitely dig it. Like, I really, really, really like the ukulele as the outro. I mean, I like it as the intro as well.
Yeah.
But it's from some of his more lo-fi days. He used to have a bunch of like, not, I guess not a bunch of ukulele in his songs, but there's a few songs from the past that this kind of calls back to of his.
Okay.
But I don't know, like you said, it. I like the way he uses his vocals as kind of an instrument, but you can tell he's also still trying to sing something. But
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
yeah, I
But
can't make it out either.
but
Uh,
like that Eastern guitar that kind of, I
yeah,
don't know. I think it sounds Eastern. I
I
don't.
I was going to put that in my notes. I was like, is that racist
Yeah,
or
I
is
don't.
that just me like me like looking too hard into it because the dude's Asian? But I definitely picked up on that as well.
Yeah, like, and I mean, it's not a guitar. It's, I mean, it. I think it is a guitar, but the sound that it reminds me of is not a guitar.
Right.
I don't know exactly what instrument it is, but it's. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's cool.
There's like whenever the actual song hits in, because it fucking hits, dude. Like
Yeah.
whenever the actual quote unquote actual song starts,
Right.
and those punchy drums, ooh, they're punchy.
Punchy drums are punchy.
But yeah, it's a very good way to end the album. You know, I'm glad we're back on a album that has what I see to be a fitting end.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little offended you didn't like Banks Goddess, but no, it's fine.
Don't.
No,
I
I'm,
mean,
I'm just kidding.
it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that I
It
didn't.
was a lot.
I didn't love it because it was a
Yeah.
lot. Like
Yeah.
there were elements that I did like it.
No, I totally agree. I think I would even go so far as to say that I like this album more than I like Banks Goddess album. I think I still like
Oh.
Banks' second album better, but that's neither here nor there. Overall, I like this album a lot musically.
Hmm.
There's a lot of cool production stuff going on throughout the whole thing. It's still the vocals. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about them,
Yeah.
and it's again it could just be a stigma that I need to overcome with the whole mumble rap thing. But I could definitely put this album on and go for a drive or put it on as like background noise. And there's a lot of good vocal melodies. It's good. I don't know. I like it. I
Well,
just
that.
can't get over the vocals just yet.
Well, I mean, I get it. Like he does have a very distinct, I guess, voice, and it's weird to say distinct because it is a style that a lot of other people use,
Right.
but that style is very, very unique in the way that it's not. I don't know, kind of like. I don't want to compare it exactly to what I was saying about One of Tricks Point Never, where it's like this isn't something that you would recommend or whatever, because this is something I would recommend to people, but you would have
Yeah.
to know the person and their preferences on vocals, I guess, before you recommended it to them.
Yeah. I mean, despite that, you still recommended it to me,
Well,
and it kind of
of
worked out.
course I did.
So
That's because I can just unload all the shit that I
all
listen
of the
to on
shit
you.
that you can't share with anybody else,
Yeah, there's a
you just say, well, we'll see how Jeremy feels about this one.
yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that you at least somewhat liked it.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's kind of the point of this for us is to just kind of like discover new music, and b discover things about each other's musical tastes, and maybe even about our own musical tastes,
And maybe
and
even
kind of
make some
connect some of
friends
that stuff,
along the way.
and maybe even make some money, friends along the way. Um, but yeah, next week we're gonna be listening to another dark pop album in my quadrilogy. Is that a word? Is quadrilogy a word?
It is now, man.
It is now. So we started with Banks Goddess. Next week we're going to be listening to a Swedish dark pop, dream pop kind of deal. The artist is Lykke Li, which I'm going to spell for you. She's Swedish. It's Lykke space Li. Her album is called So Sad, So Sexy, and I think you'll actually really enjoy this album. From what I remember, but I haven't listened to it in a little bit. But I really enjoy the album. I think you're gonna like it more than you liked Banks, which is kind of what I was going for with this whole build up of dark pop over time. But I was hoping to put this one a week later, but this one fits better after hearing Ballads one by Joji. So I think it'll be fine. I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, cool. I hope I do enjoy it. I hope I don't absolutely hate it.
I mean, I doubt you'll absolutely hate it. I don't know. Is there any music? We'll have a podcast about that.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna get into that. I don't know of any music that you'll absolutely hate. So
I'm sure I can
we can
find it.
talk about that. Yeah, that's true. We can talk about that another day,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
But until then, if you guys want to reach out to us, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify.
Boom, bam,
If
boom.
we are not on a platform that you would listen to us on, A, how are you listening to us now? And B, let us know, and I'm sure we can get there.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to get set up with a lot of these places, it seems, fortunately, other than Apple Podcasts was kind of a pain.
Yeah,
But
because
it's all
neither
good
of us
now.
use Apple.
It's all good now.
Sorry, Apple.
Maybe you should stop being such a bunch of proprietary assholes.
Hey, that's yeah, definitely do that. It'd be great.
Fuck them. Fuck Apple. Fuck you if you're listening to us on an iPhone. I'm just kidding.
I'm
just
not
kidding. You're a consumer. You know, you gotta buy something, I guess.
Yeah. What is happening?
This is a rusty episode for us. So sorry if the content wasn't great, but we'll get back on a regular schedule hopefully, and relearn how to do this.
Hey, I had fun, and that's all that matters, right?
Exactly. We had fun. We spent an hour talking about music, and I think it was good.
We spent
good for us.
We spent like 45 minutes talking about music, and another 30 talking about what
random shit. Yeah. Oh well, it'll be fine. People like being sidetracked. I think. I don't know.
Are we still in the podcast? What's happening?
We are still in the podcast, Joey. We have not signed off. Take us home, Joey.
Okay. Well, yeah, like Jeremy said, Lykke Li, is that how you say it? I tried to look up the pronunciation, but the pronunciation used Swedish characters, and I don't know how to pronounce them.
Yeah, I think it's not Lykke Li necessarily, but it is the Swedish variant of Lykke Li, which sounds, I think, like Lykke Li.
Oh my god.
Lykke Li. I don't fucking know. Look, Lykkeli.
Hey, well,
you'll find it.
While we're using big names, how about we get PewDiePie to read that Swedish for us?
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but this is the second Swedish dark pop album that I'm going to be putting. Tuvlu is Swedish. I think I mentioned that.
Man,
so maybe Sweden just got a lock on the sad boy pop.
I mean, I think they do, because like not necessarily Sweden, but the whole Scandinavia type thing. That's where like black metal came out of.
Which is basically dark pop.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just the thoughts, while less anarchistic, whatever. But they have black metal was like proto sad boy kind of.
Yeah,
so.
Sure. I will not be listening to a black metal album next week. This week we're listening to more pop.
Yeah, more pop, and that's probably for the best. But yeah, that's what we're listening to next week. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. If you're still here, why? But okay, see. Make sure to stay in our feedback loop.
Bye.